revisiting it
Season
since
one
the
is-
first time I watched it. Matthew
I'm actually
McConaughey.
hyped for the new one with Jodie Foster. That thing looks good.
Well, see, I kind of bounced off with season 2.
Oh, the rest of the seasons are terrible, but woman directed, Jodie Foster. I have no choice but to stand.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name is Eric, and I'll be your host for this season, where we will be reviewing Meg 2, The Trench. That's in case that's the Marianas Trench, right? Or something. Yeah. In case you're a loser nerd who doesn't know that, that's the trench they're talking about. If you recall from the first movie, they discovered that the seafloor was fake and was actually just a barrier, and that there's more cool stuff underneath. Joe, how's that science hold up?
Thermocline.
Hey, don't be stealing my...
I mean, it sounds accurate. I think all of this is essentially a simulation anyway. So why?
As we established last time, you are an everything scientist, so I wanted to ask. Joining me tonight, first up from the Bay Area, San Francisco, please welcome Rachel to the show.
What up, what up, what up?
Next up from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
What section of Indiana are you in, Casey?
Central.
Central Indiana, love it. And last up tonight, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of that guy that just is the new senator. Forgot his name already.
Which guy? Oh, John Fetterman?
John
Fetterman.
Fetterman, that guy.
Yeah.
Seems like a real character.
Good guy from he's from a little small town where they filmed Out of the Furnace with Christian Bale. Braddock. There it is.
Please welcome Joe to the show.
How's it going?
A little bit of BGH history this week. This must be a first-time combination because Rachel was introducing herself to Joe before the show.
Mm-hmm. We had our
Nobody
pre-show
else?
meet cute. Yes.
See? You know, it's good times.
Friends, making new friends,
That's right.
bringing friends together. It's a beautiful thing.
I had a thought and I lost it. Anyway, we're here tonight to talk about this stupid Jason Statham movie, The Shark. So let's take a quick break and do just that.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
Schnars sent us a family vacation selfie today, me and Casey.
Yeah.
They were mountain climbing. It's just the whitest family you've ever seen. But I mean that in a literal sense. Like, they all look like, I hope they have a lot of sunscreen on.
Yeah. And we got to see Schnars in his tank top. I had to calm Eric down on the side, but we're good now.
Spicy,
It was one of the highlights
steamy.
of my day, for sure.
Yeah.
Is that why you had to walk for 3 miles? You had to work all that energy off?
I was sublimating my sexual tension. Rachel,
Yes.
you also know words. Little known
few.
fact. You write words for a living, right? What do you-
I
tell
fuck with
people what you
words.
do. What is it that you do?
I am the editor-in-chief of Pride.com, so I write a lot of words every day. Yeah.
See, that probably actually means something, unlike when I was the editor-in-chief of BloodyGoodHorror.com. It was, mostly an honorific, but,
I mean, like, it's as big a deal as you want it to be, I think.
it's all about perspective. Hey, Rachel,
Yes.
please bring us the word of the day.
The honor. Okay, word of the day. There's so much pressure to get this right. There's a little teaser that we started the show with. The word of the day, because it is so important to the plot of this film, is thermocline.
Ooh.
Yes. So this word is a combination of the word thermo, which comes from the Greek, which means hot, heat, or temperature, and klai, which comes from the Proto-Indo-European root meaning to lean. Fun fact, it's a word that forms either part or all of words including climate, climax, incline, decline, and yes, clitoris. Don't blame me, it's in the etymology.
What about Kevin Kline?
Also Kevin Kline, yes.
Just
He
right,
is
put him
unknown.
right in there with the sex stuff. It tracks.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. So according to Webster, a thermocline is the region in a thermally stratified body of water that separates a warmer surface from the cold deep water, in which the temperature decreases rapidly with depth. And the reason we're using it for this word is it kind of acts like a cage for megalodons, and also this was true in the predecessor as well. So like if you have some dinos and things living near the Mariana Trench, they cannot get through the thermocline.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Rachel. I did just Google Kevin Kline 2023. Still handsome, in case anybody was wondering.
You can
I
get
like
it.
the pictures with the mustache better than the other ones, but there we are.
I had to think for a minute because when you said Kevin Kline, what I thought of was Chris Klein, and I was like, "That's a deep cut." But then I came around. But that's why I got confused for a minute there.
Rachel, why don't you tell me about Meg 2, The Trench?
Sure. All right. So The Meg 2 is a sequel to the 2018 film The Meg, which is loosely based on the novel.
That was pre-pandemic. Oh my God, that just made me
It was
feel
a different world.
10 million years old.
Yep. Yeah. It's why we had to wait so many years to get back into the water. So same writing team, John Hober, Eric Hober, and Dean Georges, all returned this time around, but taking over the directorial duties from John Turteltaub, who did the first film, is beloved art house horror and genre filmmaker Ben Wheatley, which I'm like, what are you doing here, buddy? Previous films he has done include Kill List, A Field in England, Sightseers, the Shootout Extravaganza Free Fire, High Rise, and the psychedelic body horror film In the Earth. So yes, this is definitely a departure.
The only one that's ringing a bell for me is In the Earth, and I don't remember being crazy about that one.
It was okay. Kill List is definitely his masterpiece, in my opinion.
That's the one everybody says.
Sightseers is up there too.
Sightseers is
We
solid,
did.
too.
I'm sure we did an episode on Kill List, but I don't think that was one I actually saw.
Ooh, it is bleak, and I love it. So yeah, like the previous film, The Meg 2 is a co-production between the U.S. and China, and it features an international cast. Notably absent from this one is Li Bingbing, which to me is kind of sus, considering that at one point the Chinese government had her under house arrest, but I'm not going to put on a foil hat today.
She was like the lead in the first one?
Yes, so she was Su Yen, who they fridged in this movie.
Literally.
Killed in a scroll.
And I couldn't remember it, but there was like some romantic tension with her and Jason Statham, right? She's the one who's staring at. I keep bringing this up. She's the one who's staring at him through the porthole while he's changing his shirt. Okay, got it. That's kind of what I figured. And then in this movie, he's like taking care of her daughter.
Yes. So
Right?
he is like, yeah. So we've got the
Sort of.
uncle, and we've got like, I don't
Questionable.
totally understand. Like, I didn't realize that she apparently, when I was researching this, found out we were supposed to understand that she died at the end of the last movie. But I was laboring under the idea that they were together, and like that's why he had kind of adopted her. But I don't know.
This is what I remember from the last movie: Jason Statham taking his shirt off, and that dog, and that's it.
Yeah. I
And
don't remember.
I remember the final scene is like the shark is attacking like a Chinese beach where there is just 10,000 people in the water.
Yeah.
I mean, you mean the scene we all bought the ticket for? Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So this premiered at the Shanghai Film Festival and opened in last week, and has gotten mostly negative reviews. However, it has made $152 million worldwide. So cross your fingers. I think we're getting a threequel. And that's what I got.
All right, Joe, what'd you think of the Meg? You just caught up with the first one, right?
Yeah, I just saw it about a month ago. Randomly decided to watch The Meg and was pleasantly surprised with that one because I love the bait and switch. And I'm okay with even like A24's marketing department has tuned my brain into being like bait switched. So when it comes to Meg 2, the fact that we get a movie that is like 8 different movies smashed all together, which I'm going to call the Ben Wheatley special. I don't think he actually knows how to direct one type of movie. I had fun. I'm okay with Jason Statham being an eco James Bond. I'm okay with all of a sudden this turning into Underwater for 15 minutes. And then it comes back around. You get a great goon, like is it Marte or what's the character's name in this? Anyways,
Evil Pedro Pascal.
exactly. Amazing, evil, big '90s action bad guy face.
Yeah.
This movie throws tropes at you left and right, including like what an evil villainess. She's all that. So when you get a big turn, you know a girl's bad when she takes off the glasses.
Yes.
Yeah, ton of fun.
Casey.
Well, first of all, I decided when I started watching this that I was going to start a drinking game every time they mentioned thermocline, and then I died. No, this movie is. I would definitely bought the ticket for the trailer scene that we saw. You know, the shark going swimming into the shore and whatnot. Pretty excited for that. That part of the movie was pretty great. I thought the last 30 minutes of this movie were a blast. Once we got to the crazy stuff at the beach and whatnot. The problem is the hour and a half you had to get through to get there. And Joe is spot on. This is nothing but a whole bunch of tropes slapped together, and to get us to that fun scene at the end, and hope for the best. But it pales in comparison to the first movie. Unfortunately, that movie came out of nowhere for me, and it surprised me. Not real big on giant shark films, other than Jaws, obviously. But Meg was fun, and it tried to do a couple different things in there, surprise us a little bit. This one, it just kind of lost all that surprise. Their big surprise. I don't know if this is spoiler or not, but we see the baby octopi in the bottom, and there's one brief offhanded mention of the baby octopi at the bottom of the trench, and then all of a sudden it becomes a major plot point later on in the movie with no other mention of it whatsoever.
See, I was kind of bummed because they did a bait and switch with the marketing on this movie.
Yes.
So they showed the octopus, and then they also showed that T-Rex shot really prominently. So I'm thinking this is some kind of King of the Monsters kind of deal. But that stupid dinosaur shot had nothing to do with the movie.
Nope.
It was a flashback to the Cretaceous period that the movie started with. And so it was gone. But they used it so prominently in the trailer. That was kind of bullshit, I thought.
It wasn't even necessarily a flashback to the Cretaceous period. All it was a vehicle to say, hey, remember how big this shark is?
Yeah, I say that because literally there's a title card that says the Cretaceous period.
Yeah, I know. But that was
Much
clear.
like
That was
2 weeks ago when we did 65.
But that said, as far as especially once we get to the fun part, and I'll bring these up later, there's some really cheesy one-liners that I'm always a fan of, and we'll touch on those later. So, yeah, there's a fun 30 minutes in this movie. Mm-hmm. That's
Rachel.
2 hours long.
I think I largely actually agree with Casey. I love a big dumb action movie. Love them. And I love adventure movies. I think that genre, even when the science doesn't science, the spectacle of it is kind of the thing I'm looking for when I go see one of those movies. And I'm also a huge Ben Wheatley fan. So I was super hyped for this. And maybe I set myself up for a little bit of failure because this one was a bit of a letdown for me. I'm not going to lie. It has moments of sheer delight. There is a shark cam moment that if this whole movie was shot through shark cam, it would be 10 out of 10 for me. But I just think it's incredibly overstuffed. There are long stretches of human drama that I have no interest in, and not enough shark. I just wanted to see sharks eat people, and you do get that, but you have to wait a really long time. I know. Yeah. I just want to see the teeth go this and eat the rich people. That's all I want in life. I don't feel like it's too much.
Turtle eat fish when I got to feed him fish once a month.
But to your point, Rachel, especially when the big draw and the promise is there's going to be more sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that all, Rachel?
I mean, we can get more into it, but essentially that's kind of where I landed.
I would estimate this movie at about exactly where the original Meg was. It's such a retread in every way. They sort of try to outdo themselves with the action, but I don't know that they outdo it. But it is kind of a fun little stupid romp. The fact that it's 2 hours is inexcusable and extremely dumb. And why? Like, because presumably you're not trying to break the bank with a movie. Like, you're trying to be like, how much movie can we put in to have some like big CGI scenes? But we're not making a Marvel movie, right? Why make it 30 minutes longer than it has to be? And there's a whole frigging sequence in this movie that basically was stolen from underwater. Like, we were watching it, and I'm like, what movie have I seen? Was it the first Meg that did? And I was like, no, it's fucking underwater that did this. Like, and 1,000
Down to the
times,
tentacles.
a thousand times better, because instead of like trying to get around weird Lovecraftian mermen like in underwater, we're fighting, once again, not to bring up 65 again, we're fighting stupid dinosaur or stupid dog dinosaurs. I refuse. Listen, you can't make new dinosaurs. Stop it. Stop it. Okay? I don't like it. It's annoying, and it's like kind of tension diffusing. We spend like 45 minutes on this like underwater trek, and it's like, I do understand you can't have the whole movie be that last 30-minute segment, but you don't need to make me wait 90 minutes for it either. Let's make this thing a clean 78 minutes and get the fuck out of here. Like, it's Saturday. There's shit to do. I think the appeal of these things continues to be, Sci-Fi Channel-esque action, but with a bigger budget, so they get to go even dumber and better looking with it. There is like, we talk a lot about camp on this show and whether or not it's intentional camp, which you'd argue, is that even real? But I think something about these like joint Chinese-American things totally has this bizarre, otherworldly feel to it, just like choices that would never be made in a purely American film. And it gives it this strange camp value that I really enjoy. It's just bizarre. Like, it's like there's nothing that feels exactly like these movies, and it's part of why I'm kind of fascinated by it.
Interesting.
Do you think it had anything to do with the uncle that they brought into this movie, since Li Bing wasn't in this one? That every time he cracked a joke, he went,
Like, it's just silly. But you know what the funniest thing was? I thought the one programmer dude who has his survival bag, like, that was a great bit that they kept coming back to. That guy was really funny. Yeah. They did the smart thing, which was they come up with more excuses to have Jason Statham fight people and punch people, which is really great. And I kept thinking, like, I think maybe I just need to watch the Transporter movies, because this is actually what I want to be watching here. I've never really seen one of his movies ever, so I probably should remedy that.
I mean, Transporters would give you what you want.
Yeah. And the action's much better. Like,
which is the one, Crank is the one where it's like heart.
That's a good one, too.
That sounds real dumb and fun to me.
Oh, that one's real dumb and fun.
But anyway, so I didn't hate it. It is what it is, which is not much more or less than the first film. I would have loved it if that octopus was much more of a central character. I don't even really care if you want to tease it and then have it really show up at the end, but like, let's see that thing's face. Let's, like, literally you only saw the tentacles. I'm like, let's see this goddamn thing come out of the water. Let me see those gnarly octopus teeth. Let me see it kill a bunch of people. But instead, like, you literally just see tentacles, which tentacles are cool, but like, they could have done more to again make it feel almost like a Skull Island or something. You know what I mean? Where we've got multiple prehistoric beasts kind of out there, and maybe come up with a third thing. Like, let's get a giant squid in there. I don't know. Yeah, like maybe they're holding that back for like the third movie, but
they're missing. I don't want to cut in on your time, Eric, but they're missing out on, especially with the giant octopus, and even like if they did throw in a giant squid, it's cool. You can go on with the idea, that the megalodons got so big because they, grew below the thermocline and so far deep, and that allows them to be so big and everything. Give us more of that with the animals you're going to throw in there with your giant octopus and stuff. Instead, they introduce a giant octopus, and the only introduction and explanation we get is when they first get to the trench and they get out and they see the colorful baby octopi swimming around.
Yeah, I mean, and the people who marketed it understood how cool that idea was, because that's why they put that T-Rex shot so prominently in there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's fine. Same review I gave Talk to Me last week. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I was a little sad that they didn't. Yeah, there's like zero tension in this movie. And I think that it's a little bit of wasted, like,
Do you think there was
monster.
tension in the first movie, though?
No, and I think I was expecting there to, and this is again maybe my own fault. I thought when you brought in Ben Wheatley, they were going to try to like do a little bit of a tonal shift, change a direction, like,
Or at least make
course
it
correct,
weirder.
you know?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And I feel like the stills that I saw of the movie before I actually saw the movie were scarier than the movie itself. And it's kind of wasted because the Megalodon is a solid monster. You know, he's a giant great white shark, and seeing him slowly emerge out of the depths or out of like the shadows, like all those things could be used very effectively. And it was kind of a bummer that never really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much studio interference there was, because like CMC Pictures, the Chinese conglomerate, they are responsible for some of the biggest movies in the Chinese market, and they do spectacle. I think they are the reason we saw things on the scale that we did, and the way that the movie moved, and the way that the uncle acted, and even the casting of him. He's the was it The Wandering Earth is like one of their huge films. He's a big star from that.
Interesting.
Nice.
I will say,
Earth,
I guess in the positive camp, like it does feel like a more coherent film than the first one. Like I remember saying about the first one, it almost felt like you had two scripts, like the American movie script and the Chinese movie script, and they like smashed them together. Whereas this, aside from some of this few strange feeling characters are just things that you wouldn't normally see, it feels more coherent, like more cohesive.
Yeah, for me too, and like when you were talking, Rachel, about my hopes that started to build when they mentioned, announced Ben Wheatley was going to direct.
Yeah,
I honestly don't know why we even had to go back to the trench. There was not really a whole lot of point to it.
Honestly, the underwater shit is boring. Even when they're just on the research vessel or whatever, like. Because something about you lose the feeling and the scale of the monster, and to me that takes out a lot of the tension. And when they're walking across the floor, like there's a bunch of megalodons, they're not even a threat. They're not attacking them at all. Like,
well, not to mention all the crap. I know you have to like throw your science views out the window to enjoy a movie like this, but to be a little morbid here with current events that have been going on, do you think after the things happened with the Titanic sub, they're all sitting there going, oh no, because they know, I mean, the idea of Jason Statham walking around in the bottom of Marianas Trench without a suit on is just ridiculous.
Oh,
and the other guy riding
my
the
God,
buoy
when
up.
he swims
I forgot about that.
in the Marianas Trench.
And he was
and
like,
the
no.
bad guy rode a buoy from the bottom of the trench straight up.
wait.
He would have exploded.
Sir.
We got to stop back for a second. So the way it's explained is that he has some dumb thing. He says to the person, like, no, it's fine. You just have to get all of the air out of your lungs first.
No, out of your sinuses.
Whatever. Right. Whatever.
Yeah.
But do you think, though, that the people who made this movie, when that sub shit happened like 2 months ago, were like,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, fuck, guys. Everybody's going to see our movie and be like, no, dumbass. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
I mean, someone's face implodes at some point. That's when I was like, ooh.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Titanic.
That little,
I'm not gonna lie.
But that's like that's a plus for this movie, though. Like, that kind of dumb, terrible, zero, like, not thought through science shit is one of the funniest things about the movie. I don't even know if it's intentional, but it's hilarious. Like the way that they just breeze over the the science stuff is really funny.
I mean, you have Jason Statham pulling a cloud straight at the end and holding up a propeller of a helicopter. Like that, the science stuff, yes.
It's not science.
Anybody that is fact checking in this movie
Yeah.
is not in it for essentially the right vibe.
No, and if you're in with the rest of the vibe of the movie, it might as well be like that. It might as well be silly, because otherwise, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Otherwise, Joe, what are we doing?
I want to see, make it a bigger universe. Make the third one a crossover with the Megan AI movie, because the next biggest ecological threat's AI, and it's Jason Statham versus Megan.
I mean,
it's
That
a
movie
here's
is
the
called
deal.
Mission
and it's a-
Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
And it's a
Here-
giant Megan beneath the thermocline.
Here's the deal: the money in these
watch
movies
that.
are the money in these movies are these like beach attack scenes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's get rid of the underwater shit. Just start the movie and have a smaller beach attacked for a while. Then you can do your dumb
Yeah.
story in the second act, and then let's get to a bigger beach. Like, how fucking hard is that?
Yeah.
I love that the name. What was the name of the resort? It was Fun Island.
yeah.
That was so good. Like again, that when those things are happening, it's like, oh, this movie's perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Fun Island.
Yeah.
And they
mean,
make
the
a
only-
comment. They're
full-
like, it loosely translates to Fun Island. But then in the middle of the scene, there's a sign that says Fun Island. And I'm like, so is that the name or does it just loosely translate to that?
Oh,
I don't know.
I mean, and I like your idea, and you're right, Eric. That's the money shot. That's could have been more of the movie. I mean, honestly, the bad guys storming the giant oil rig that they were using as a base and whatnot on the surface of the water, and them invading that, I'm cool with that. Jason Statham infiltrating and beating up bad guys going through the station, I'm down with that too. They could have done a whole lot more with that without having to go to the trench. But the problem that I see with that is that's going to make these guys rely more on the dogfish things, that are running around on land, because apparently, even though Jaws showed us,
They can walk.
yeah. I mean, the fact that Jaws has shown us that you could terrify people that are landlocked with a shark out in the water. They're not going to do that here.
I will say though, showing up your big monster in a sequel by having a bunch of little tiny monsters is very Tremors 2, and that makes me now maybe I'm coming around on this a little bit.
Oh no. We're watching you Stockholm in real time.
It's so funny. I have well, here's the other thing that I have such a man crush on Jason Statham that I'm literally watching this movie and subconsciously being like, I need to get like a crew neck sweatshirt, and then 10 minutes later I have to be like, oh, but I'm not gonna look like that in a crew neck sweatshirt. He's just like a tree trunk of a man. Like I just,
Yeah.
okay,
And yet you've never seen his movies.
And his head is like this. Like there's no neck. It's just
No.
head right into shoulders. It's amazing.
It is. Yeah.
I could use good. But then I kept being like, man, he's on screen so much, and this was the outfit you picked out for him. Like, it's literally just a dad sweater, like some dirty pants. You couldn't have put him in something but a little bit more memorable than that. Although here I am.
Yeah, I don't
talking
remember
about
it.
so-
Yeah, I think you're the number one and only member of whatever
I
this fan club is.
I had a lot of questions while watching.
Did any of you watch it in 3D by chance?
No.
No, I
No,
didn't
I
even know it
refuse-
was available. In
So yeah, I
3D.
noticed 3D. I also noticed D-Box where I was seeing it, which I honestly don't even really understand what that is. It sounds like it would hurt my back. But I refuse to go see 3D movies
splash
since
you.
the last one I saw in 2012 or 13 or something was so dark on the screen. I was like, I'm never doing this again.
They've gotten better.
And D-Box is the moving seats, isn't it?
Joe, I will never find out if it's better. Did you see the 3D?
I did.
Wow. So
So I took it was my nephew's birthday, so I took him and my son and figured, fighting sharks. My issue with the 3D is the subtitles. Usually when I'm reading subtitles, you secondhand are reading them and you're taking everything in.
You're bouncing
The
around quick,
subtitles were part of the 3D. And so my eye kept being drawn to the subtitle and I'm not paying attention to what the hell's going on the screen. That was my big issue. Some good jump scares. Great reference to Friday the 13th Part 3 in one of the kills. They do the same sort of 3D impalement kill.
Oh.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah,
That's pretty
I don't
fun.
know.
I caught other references too, and then they all left my brain. But it felt like a reference-y movie.
I mean, they were textual at one point. They're like, "This is like in Jaws 2
Yeah.
when so and so did this." I'm
Well,
like,
and
Yeah.
the dog, right? The Jaws too, and then the dog is back, and
I mean, even the movie Tentacles.
Pippin.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's true.
yeah. I don't ever mess with the 3D, but a
And-
friend of mine fell prey to a 3D scam once, where they went to the movie theater and they were going to see the witch. And the young teenager at the counter was like, oh, you gotta see this in 3D, and charged them the extra for the ticket. So they went in, and it was like
Fuck
them
off.
and 3 other olds, and they were all just like sitting there with their 3D glasses in. They got about 20 minutes in, and they're like, I'm not seeing a third dimension. What is
kind of scam?
happening?
What kind of scam is that? That's
So
insane.
The
then they
kid's
came out
pocketing
to
the
be
extra
like,
money.
what's
No,
going on?
I
And the
under-
kids shift and ended.
I understand that, but like, how long do you get away with that
amazing.
before you get butt? Like, it's not a foolproof plan.
It was probably his last day.
Yeah, maybe.
Turns out-
He just.
That third dimension's the devil.
Yep. They should have stuck it out to the end.
That's
But yeah,
hilarious.
she just said it was like her and a bunch of old people, and they're all like,
I will say my favorite action thing in this movie, aside from the Jason Statham punching people in a sweatshirt, is just love the idea that he's driving around on jet skis, carrying these stupid little poles with like, I don't know, some kind of a little explosive device he somehow rigged by hand, right? Mm-hmm. These poles could not weigh more than a pound. Like, let's say generously
Titanium.
they weigh 2 pounds, and he's flying around in a jet ski, and he's like, and he like throws it, and it somehow penetrates a megalodon skin. Mind you, in Jaws, like a lot of it is made of like the guy, Richard Dreyfuss' little spear, and the guy's like, that's not even gonna like scratch his skin. Like, you're not gonna be like, but the megalodon, we can just throw this stupid little fake javelin, and it's just gonna go right in.
Have
They're
you seen his
softer.
forearms?
I mean, yeah, I was staring at him, Joe.
see, there you go.
See, but
But
in
it's an
honor
amazing visual, like him bombing around on that jet ski.
Of, oh yeah,
It's
in
pretty
honor of Joe Bob, there's some serious jet ski foo in this movie.
There
Yes,
truly
yes.
is, yeah.
I mean, there was fun flips. Watching him ride the wake from the megalodons jumping out of the
Yes.
water was a blast.
I mean, these are the moments where like the film it like understands the assignment in those moments. And that is when it is like pure joy. There is a super cut of this movie that is like peak shark action. It's
Well,
just weighed down by the humans.
As much as I am a dog dinosaur denier, there is a fun when they're attacking people on the island and then the shark's in the water, like, because there's nowhere to go. And it's kind of how you get around that plot issue, right? Of just like, well, I'll get out of the water. But when they throw those guys on the island and then suddenly it's just chaos, and it's a lot of fun. And that scene lasts a good 30 minutes, I feel like.
Don't they all? Doesn't every scene in this movie last 30 minutes?
And I did love the older couple on the paddle boat and the snap cut down. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, every time someone got eaten, it was
The paddle boat
delightful.
was really good. That
Yeah.
was a good gag.
And the view from inside the Meg's mouth as it
Yes.
kept
That's
eating
what I'm
more
saying.
people.
That's probably the best shot in the movie.
By far.
Well,
by
like
far.
to Joe's point earlier, though, with like studio interference and the Chinese studio having a strong hand and influence and stuff, it almost feels like that's the chunk of movie that they let Ben Wheatley do whatever he wanted with.
See, I don't know. I am the opposite of Rachel in this, where I'm a Ben Wheatley detractor because I find him so confounding. I
That's
I
right.
just don't know. I'm fine with. I think he gets good ideas, and then I think he gets distracted by like a mosquito flying by him,
That could be true.
and that's how I feel about most of his movies.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's the studio or just him when it comes to all of this.
I mean, I've seen him kind of speak very diplomatically about the experience of making this film and serving
Okay.
multiple masters. I mean, that does not necessarily mean what you're saying is not true, but I
mean-
think this was a tough movie to make.
You gotta
Yeah.
know what you're getting into with this, though. It's the second one. You know the deal with the production. Like, I mean, he could not have been stepping into that unaware, right?
Yeah.
He must have made
There's-
a calculation that it was good for his career somewhere.
Well,
I
I
mean-
mean, unless there's this, I think there's a chance that Ben Wheatley's put out a lot of movies, a lot of them independent without a lot of interference. He may have had to pay a favor just because of the freedom he's had, like he needed to make a movie to fill out a contract or something.
I see what you're saying. Like he's
Because
gonna
it doesn't
do the
feel
big
like one
movie
he
to
would
pay the
choose.
bills.
Right.
It's a weird choice. Like even I mean, he's done some Doctor Who and he's done some sort of mainstreamy things, but like in television. But this is such a radical departure,
It's very
tonally
it's interesting,
and
yeah.
budget wise. And I'm sad to say, like the action scenes, in my opinion, really kind of showed. You know, like I think in this like post John Wick Mission Impossible world, like the shaky cam fight scenes just like aren't landing like they used to. And so
Bad editing with all of
Yeah.
them.
yeah.
The other,
But also Shark Cam. But also counterpoint Shark Cam.
I completely, to me, obvious Chinese studio influence was the little girl in this movie, because she is 100% how you see a lot of their younger young child characters come across, kind of precocious, kind of on the verge of being annoying, getting into trouble, and people just kind of like rolling their eyes and like, oh, that goofy child, and letting them do whatever dangerous thing it's going to be. It happens a lot.
You snuck in the sub. Oh,
Yeah.
you.
And Jason Statham was the only one that was like, all right, that's it. We're surfacing. We're coming back. And the others are like, oh, come on.
There's not the security and the quality control on this station.
Yeah.
Not great. And like there's like 12 people that work in this whole like
Oh, and the little girl happened to get her own $10 million survival wetsuit made.
well, let's say generously there's 30 people, and somehow a bunch of them were able to splinter off into another group with different equipment and go down there, right? Am I to understand that the people that were mining were part of that research team?
No, I think just
No.
Skylar Samuels was.
No.
The bad
It was
girl-
the secret
villain.
mission by the mustache twirling girl boss.
Yes.
The other girl, the one who was like the assistant and then suddenly turned
900% too good looking. Yes. Yeah.
she the second she opened her mouth out loud in the theater, I was like, oh, she's totally in on it. Like, and I never do that, but it was so obvious.
Yeah. I don't know.
It reminded me of a big budget direct to TV action flick you'd find on like USA at like 2 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Big asylum vibes. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't have anything else to say about the Meg. Do you?
Yeah, there's not really that much to say, unfortunately. I mean, like it was fun-ish.
I will say I was hoping for that leap that like Wingard made from like directing You're Next and all of those movies to Godzilla vs. Kong,
Yes.
where
Yeah.
he was
Right.
able to do something with all of that and showed the product spoke for itself.
That's a
Not
perfect
PC.
example. Like I wanted to see that some of that art house aesthetic sort of work its way into this sort of popcorn muncher.
Yeah, and I think though that ultimately this is not the platform probably where that was gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, apparently not. Yeah.
Maybe it'll happen in the prequel.
Do you guys think I should play Baldur's Gate 3?
I'm good.
Yes.
Everybody I
I
know
hear
is
it's-
playing it and obsessed.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if that would be a good thing or a bad thing, but I've been thinking about it.
Well,
I go down hard when I get obsessed with something like that.
fair warning, it's a big game. So, especially on
Yeah.
PC, you need 122 gigabytes free.
It's not a problem. I remember going into a Walmart in like 2003 or something, or 4 maybe, and they handed me, I got a like demo disc for the World of Warcraft, and I brought it home, and I remember looking at it and being like, I just feel like this would be bad. Like, not like, I feel like I shouldn't go down this road. And I didn't. I never
Yeah.
played.
Well, I mean, as someone who recently discovered that Star Wars is good, maybe Star Wars Jedi Survivor? That's a big game. It's pretty good.
Fun game.
It's
I
so
played,
good.
what was that previous series that was kind of similar? The previous Star Wars series where you played like a Jedi on the run kind of dude. Force
Yeah,
Unleashed.
this is better than that. Yeah, this is better than Force
Yeah,
Unleashed.
it's
for
better
sure.
than that.
Yeah, for sure. Force Unleashed was not that great. I mean, it was cool, but it was not like it didn't have a good story. This one actually has a really good story, and the actual.
I've always
gameplay
been
is
kind of
pretty
obsessed
good.
with like isometric games. It just feels so like quaint and homey to me, that perspective.
I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but there's probably going to be some reading involved, Eric, with Baldur's Gate.
I have been reading books, I'll have you know.
Ooh.
I'm reading 3 books concurrently right now. And I might finish one of them.
Ooh, which is your front runner? Which is the one you may complete?
I'm almost at the end of The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the nonfiction book that the movie was based on. So I just love the movie, and I like dumb white collar crime stories. I like white collar crime stories where I know the person goes down in the end, because I really enjoy the build up and the tip over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And seeing how they go down.
Hubris. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then what's the other thing? I'm reading a little bit of self-help stuff, and there's something else, and I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
Look at you, self-improving. I probably should do that instead of reading
Trying.
Star Wars books and
trying.
gay horror.
All right. Would you recommend Meg 2, Joe?
I would.
Casey?
Nah.
Rachel?
I don't think so, which hurts me personally because I wanted to love it so bad.
I mean, like, if you liked the Meg, sure. But, like, does anybody really like the Meg, or do you just kind of go, all right, yeah, all right.
I was more of a, all right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, that was a thing. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to say no, I guess.
Yeah.
Split down the middle. There you go. All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Rachel,
Yes.
where can
Eric.
people find you?
Well, do you want my address or no? Just kidding.
That's
It's
entirely up to you. I don't.
Just
I
kidding.
can't set your boundaries for you.
I mean, that's dangerous because I don't really have any. But you can find me online at Rachy Pants on Twitter, or sorry, X. But if you want to follow Zombie Girls, that's ZG Podcasts. That's podcast with an S on Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Threads.
I will never, mark my words, Rachel, I will never say X, ever.
It hurt. Like I mean, I just
It
want it to
is
die. Like it just needs
Twitter.
to shuffle off this mortal coil, I think.
I noticed today I went to do something, and I noticed, I guess I had read about this, but I actually saw in real time that they changed it to repost instead of retweet, which is so stupid.
What?
Oh my
Like,
God.
maybe you shouldn't let cocaine make all of your business decisions.
He
I don't know.
is-
I don't know.
Such
don't
a
know.
chud.
He is.
a
I'm
hideous
very
chud.
sad that the Zuckerberg and Musk fight is not apparently going to happen. I was like super hyped for that.
Oh
I was
my
ready
God,
to
that
pay for
shit
the
was-
pay-per-view.
That shit, dude, I did enjoy that discourse on Twitter of people busting on him for suddenly needing surgery.
I feel like his fighting style would be like this move. You know what I mean? Like the over your face. Like that's what I imagine the Musk fighting style is.
Idiot.
All I know is he was going to show up in that Halloween costume he wore last year that looked like some bad Dracula armor or something.
There's a movie where the tagline was like, whoever wins, we lose. I think it's like Alien versus Predator. Like that is how I felt about that fight. When I'm rooting for Mark Zuckerberg, like the world has spun off its axis. We have entered the darkest era.
I know.
My initial response when they first said Zuck and Musk are going to have a cage match, I tweeted before it was X, can we just lock the door to the cage once they go?
Like a Magneto kind of situation. We'll trick them into getting into the prison.
Can it be a shark diving cave? And can
You
we
just
open
drop
it?
it.
You know what else it made me think of was when Uwe Boll challenged a bunch of film critics to
Yes,
boxing matches back in
boxing.
the day.
Oh Oh my god.
So that's some old school internet beef right there.
Yeah.
Even that still feels like a scam and so Uwe Boll.
Yeah, for sure.
For some
Did he
reason,
actually fight anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
beat the
did.
shit out of somebody from like Ain't It Cool News or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's embarrassing on so many. There's the
And there was a
nuances of
story out there
Ferris
somewhere
in
about
that.
a guy who actually like was in shape and trained and wanted to take him on and he wouldn't even return his
Yeah.
calls. Like he's basically just looking for a nerd to beat up.
Yeah. That's very Musk-like.
Anyway, info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Let me check quick because our Mr. Levi said he sent something, but I couldn't find it for. Still, is it in my spam? We'll just do this real time, guys. There's nothing else going on. Spam. Yep.
Oh, I think they
found
might be in the comments on YouTube.
First up, Caitlin and Kissimmee. It's in Florida. In case you didn't know. Dummy. Dispatch from episode 170. Apparently we were discussing Final Destination 5 possibilities. Eric, I'm boycotting for my man Devin Sawa, unless they bring him back, which I doubt. John, hey, don't count Devin out there. He may come back for Final Destination 5. Who knows? Spoiler, he kind of does. I submit this as further evidence that John is a lizard person with ties to the Hollywood elite. His panic that you may not spend your money was evident. I'm enjoying Caitlin's little odyssey through the back episodes. Next up, Levi. Hey, gang. I don't want to be a downer, but I lost my father last week. This podcast has helped me get through it. The laughs, the feeling of community you guys create, it goes a long way making someone feel less alone. I just want to say you guys are great. You literally inspired me to create my own podcast. Keep doing what you're doing. You make a difference. Levi from Well Adjusted Horror. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry to hear
sorry.
that.
Thank you, Levi.
Cry.
Hope you're hanging in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I lost my dad recently, so I feel you, Levi.
Man, I'll tell you, when I'm trying to block something out,
I cried.
podcasts is where I'm going.
Yeah. That's so true. Like you just like hang out with your parasocial friends
Yep.
for sure. For sure.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is email address. Have you been checking the hashtag on Twitter?
Yeah, there's no tweets this week again.
All right. Dying
Seems
Mutt,
most
what
of our
you say?
listeners may have vacated the premises.
Have you been shadow banned by the Musk?
Oh, maybe.
All right.
It'll make it easier when you finally are like cut ties.
We
Yeah.
did get some threads. I said, tonight we're reviewing the Meg 2, and some jerk said, why? Because I'm trying to fill a void in my life with a podcast. Do I need more of a reason? Terrified State says, how do we get our money back? I've seen worse things in the theater.
Yeah.
Threads is finally becoming more like Twitter.
I thought it was supposed to be the positive platform.
From the Well Adjusted Horror Podcast, I enjoyed what a piece of crap this was, but speaking of fecal matter, let's talk chili. Important chili question. Beans in your chili or no beans in your chili? Your answer will greatly determine my respect level for each of you.
Oh, you gotta have beans.
Definitely beans.
I grew up beans. It was later brought to my attention that a true authentic chili is just meat. But that seems crazy to me. I feel like you need beans because fiber.
Beans
Otherwise,
are
it's just-
disgusting, and they are the greatest culinary lie that has been told to humanity.
Oh,
they
did
are
we find a
sacks
Rachel thing
of
here tonight?
gritty goo. They are revolting.
They are a source of a complete protein and fiber, though, Rachel. That's important.
I would rather die a slow starvation death than let a bean pass these lips.
My kids say they're good for your heart, and so they just keep talking about it.
That's right. Now, black beans or pinto beans?
Black.
No beans.
In the chili, I go pinto.
Oh, yeah. In the chili pinto.
I go black. And I've heard that black beans versus pinto beans is like an East Coast, West Coast divide. Not necessarily in chili, but just general preference.
Which
What
one's
about-
East Coast?
I've heard that West Coast is more pinto beans, that East Coast is more black beans on like
Okay.
tacos and burritos and stuff.
What about noodles? Like
In the
macaroni noodles.
chili?
In your chill, what do you? That
That
is
turns more. It gets closer to goulash.
Casey.
but I have
That is
seen
some
it in chili
white
here.
trash ass shit, is what that is.
No, it's just goulash.
Do you think it's just like macaroni and ketchup? Is that chili? Like,
No.
That's hilarious.
That's like the tuna casserole of chili. Like, what are you doing?
gross.
Here we go.
I mean,
Mike-
I live next to Cincinnati that puts chili on
Oh.
spaghetti.
yeah, no,
So it's not
that's
that out of the question.
disgusting.
And it's like
Shit.
chocolate. Isn't it like chocolate chili spaghetti? Isn't that like the thing?
What?
It's diarrhea.
use-
Chili spaghetti is what it is. It
Okay.
looks like diarrhea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all I know is I had it once, and Freddie from Night of the Living podcast made it for me, and I thought I was going to die after.
This
I used to
conversation has
make-
more tension than Meg 2.
I know. I was
Right.
waiting for like the great East Coast West Coast beef to start over the black beans versus pinto. I was a little sad that it didn't pop off.
Next up, Mike the Bacca. Favorite action horror franchise, and if you could cross two over, which would they be?
This is a great question.
Yeah.
Favorite action horror franchise. I mean, as
Franchise,
much as I like have gotten into Resident Evil, semi-ironically over the years, it might be Underworld. I think I might actually enjoy those movies more.
Did you catch the Resident Evil crossover in Meg 2?
No.
The mustache twirling girl boss. That's Jill Valentine.
Oh, interesting.
Action horror. I
They
mean,
just
the
had a
first one I thought it
Resident
was
Evil
Resident Evil.
They had
Yeah.
a Resident Evil series recently.
Yeah.
Was that there was
Yeah.
one that was set in the 2000s, right? Like actually around the time of the game or something.
Yeah, it was okay, but I'm not sad that it went away either.
I mean, like,
I got a Blade, I guess, because if we're talking franchise, but The Night Comes for Us. When I think action horror, I think that movie. Or Project Wolf Hunting, which just came out, and if anybody hasn't seen it, is fucking fantastic.
I mean, like, it's not, I wouldn't categorize the series of it, but like, to me, the ultimate action horror film is Aliens. Like, that's number one.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that about the first film, obviously not. And then we don't talk about the other ones.
Not
but
that actiony, yeah.
yeah.
I need to
But-
watch the fourth one. I've never seen it, and I've been seeing people say they like it.
That's Resurrection, right?
Yeah, this one with Winona Ryder.
Joss
Yeah,
Whedon's
so-
joined his entry in the
He
franchise?
directed that?
he wrote it.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I do that era of
It's very wet. It's a moist film.
that era.
What
of
about
Winona Ryder? I'm very into.
What was it? Overlord?
Lots of tension. Lots of sexual Sigourney
The,
Weaver
Okay.
tension. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Overlord is that World War II movie, right? With Wyatt.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That was a good horror one too.
Anytime you blow a Nazi's face off with a grenade, like 10 out of 10. Love that movie.
Yep.
Next up, from Asian Cinema Film Club, what is scarier, a giant shark or a giant octopus? Certainly, Peter Benchley's The Beast argued a good case for the latter, while also giving us the underrated TV movie adaptation. Wasn't The Beast squid?
Squid. I think it's
Yeah.
a squid.
I remember watching that TV movie, and it was a time, what an innocent time in my life. Like, I remember if you made a promo and told me this was like a television event, I was like, oh, I gotta be there for this. And like, I remember
Yeah.
sitting down because they was like from the creator of Jaws, and like,
Yeah.
I watched it. I was pretty into it as a kid.
I kind of missed that era of like all the really bad Stephen King
Yeah, same,
two-night
same.
adaptation. They weren't, I mean, like, listen, we all know Langoliers is not good. I fucking love it. Like,
Yeah.
Great.
I go hard for Langoliers with those stupid space-eating, time-eating monsters.
Rachel, I
Well-
used to rent the double VHS and make fucking people I was dating watch it. Like,
There was an era in high school where everyone did drugs and watched the Langoliers.
like, no, you don't. This is real cinema. You can't understand me unless you like this movie.
Yeah, no, I mean the Bronson Pinchot
What do you
slowly.
think about that,
I mean,
Joe?
I was the same way though, but mine going back even further in the '80s when V the Final Battle
yes,
came out, and they were advertising that as a special event and limited series and whatnot. I annoyed my mom so much in the weeks leading up to that.
The other test I would put people through is the movie Mosquito
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I've never
with
seen that.
with Gunnar Hansen. It was like
Shit.
pure like 1998, and you're watching USA in the afternoon, and they only had enough money to buy the rights to Mosquito, and like it was like a cheap horror movie with some really fun giant mosquito effects, basically, and Gunnar Hansen was in it.
Yeah.
Sold.
I don't know if it was a local thing. There was a station here called Coffee TV 20, and it had like in the afternoons there was always terrible horror movies, and that like absolutely shaped me as a person. Like I watched like Slugs and Bugs. And
Did you watch Ticks? It's a good one.
oh yeah, with Carlton as the gangbanger. Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Amazing
Yeah.
trench coat in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seth Green,
Oh, that's right. Seth Green was in that.
long hair.
And you have
Seth
that
Green.
great scene with Clint Howard and the things
I'm
coming out of his face.
infested. Okay, if you ever bring back the BGH, like watch along, like the spooktacular Ticks, man.
Yeah.
Ticks.
That'd be fun.
All right, on to Instagram. Marvin the Martian 12. When do you think they will eventually cross this over with Godzilla and King Kong? He actually
I'd
wrote
watch
Kong
that.
Kong, which is much funnier, but King Kong. I mean, that's a I mean, I assume he's joking. That's a real thing that makes money and is good. So
Yeah.
probably not.
I mean, that would actually be a good thing if they brought
did
a
make me
megalodon
wonder-
into that world. But
It did make me wonder what the next Kong thing is, though.
It's
they
already
making it at
so
all?
it's they already announced it. It is the Great Next Realm or Great Realm. The teaser was a silhouette of some giant ape-like beast sitting on a throne, and the camera starts panning back, and there's just skulls all over the floor, and then it gets all the way back. It's the skull of Godzilla and the skull of Kong together, and then it dropped the title. I think
Interesting.
Wingard's directing it.
So
as
this
well.
would be in that
Awesome.
universe, like post King of the Monsters, right? And we saw the throne in that movie when they're on the underground place. Okay,
Yep. Again,
I'm down.
science perfect, accurate. Definitely the
I know.
sun
I
is in
remember
the middle
making
of
a
the
big
planet.
deal. I remember when we reviewed it, making a big deal out of the fact that he's in the center of the earth, and they make eye contact
yeah.
when he's on with the other one that's on top of the earth.
Hell yeah,
Okay.
got them good
That's how
pupils.
science works.
This is a good one. I like this. Agent of Trioxin. Do large bodies of water incite fear or anxiety in you?
Yes.
It's called
yeah.
thalassophobia, and the struggle is real.
Yeah, so I can swim in the ocean and stuff, but I've never been swimming out in the open ocean. I have been in the open ocean on like a cruise ship, but I'll tell you, like growing up, I did a fair amount of tubing on lakes, which is where you're kind of being pulled by a boat. And inevitably you get thrown off, and there's this moment where you're just floating in the middle of the lake with a life vest, and like I just feel like I'm gonna be eaten by a giant monster, just like sucked into the
Yeah. Exactly.
maw of some.
And then
thing.
something touches your foot, and you want to leave your body and
But it's specifically something
Float off into the
feelings
ether.
thinking about the size of the body of water I'm in that freaks me out.
See, my issue is the darkness of the water because the raft from Creepshow 2 fucked me up so
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that darkness that you don't know what's down there waiting for you. And
Yeah, but I don't know that the clear makes it any less freakier. It's just freaky in a different way, I feel like.
but to give myself my own little plug, my first published short story, way back when, years and years ago, Deep Lies the Murky Floor, is about exactly that.
Because, like-
Thalassophobia.
Yeah, because like when you can see what's in the water, you become really hyper aware of how much shit you're sharing the water with.
literally.
Yeah.
That can be freaky.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when you step off the boat, you're on the shark's plate. and you take like 19 steps down the food chain.
That's true, and they
you
say
just have to be
that-
at peace with that if you're gonna do it.
Supposedly, most shark attacks happen in pretty shallow water too. So
Right? Exactly.
that sounds like a real science fact I heard somewhere.
No, I think that's true. Have you ever seen the like drone footage over water where you can see people playing around in the water and you can see the shapes of sharks around them?
Hell
Yeah.
no.
Haunting. I have lots of dreams where sharks are trying to bite my feet, so maybe this is really a find yourself.
I mean, I took the
Thursday
kids
for
to-
Do you
me.
have a hat for your feet too?
I took the kids out to a lake not that long ago that's like, it's out in the woods, but it's got a beach and lifeguards and stuff. But you go in that water, like you see some like shit swimming around.
Well, we used to have one that would in a pond down the road from my mom's. It was like that, had a beach, had lifeguards and stuff, and they had the shallow area roped off. And then if you're old enough, you could go on the other side of it. But you'd stand over there, and little fish come up and nibble the dead skin off off your back.
People
was
pay
freaky.
for that.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, like the thing that really freaks me out is amoebas. Because like they can get in your head, right, and like murder you. Joe, you're a scientist.
Yeah, no, they can get up your sinus canal. Down in the Amazon, you have things that'll swim up your urethral tract.
I've seen that. In
It is
movies.
all of the little creatures that I actually have my biggest fears about.
Is that why you
But
got to
that was
clear the air out of your
reasonable.
sinuses below the thermocline?
This way you don't explode or implode.
Man. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's gonna do it.
You don't want to
for
talk about the
Meg-
urethras anymore? I feel like this is
No.
okay. Okay. All right. I
alright.
feel like we
for Meg 2, The Trench. Anybody know what's coming out next week?
We have a schedule somewhere that Schnarr's made. I
feel
can
like
find
there's
out
a-
real quick.
I feel like there's a theatrical, but now I'm too tired.
There's
to look,
Birth
so-
Rebirth, which is coming out, which is going to piss some people off. People are going to be mad about that movie. That's the only thing I think I know that's coming out theatrically.
Well, next week that's coming out, isn't it Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Oh, yes. That.
Yes.
I think you may be right. In which case, that'll be definitely what we're doing. So,
Yeah. Birth Rebirth comes out the week after.
Oh, okay.
so Rachel, people can find you on the Zombie Girls, GRRLZ,
Yes.
on the
yes, come
internet.
Check us
Check them out on the hot new social media app X, where X is happening. Joe films at First Sight.
Correct.
Casey, you are Cinema Fromage on Instagram.
Cinema.fromage on both
Dot.
Instagram and Threads.
Love it. And check me out, Eric BGH on all the socials, and also Hi-Fi on Spotify, HY-FY, to hear a bunch of synthwave that I made. I don't know why I sounded so exasperated when I said that. All
Take
right,
pride
everybody.
in your synthwave. Take pride in it. It's good stuff.
All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.